So out of all those proofs of God, what if any of them are persuasive to you?
None.
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 Seriously?
Okay. Today we're diving into Charlie Kirk's recent viral debate with an atheist challenger. It got about 300,000 views in just a month's time. So we're going to armchair quarterback this thing, and while Charlie overall did a really good job, there are some areas that we thought were a little off that we'd like to clear up and hopefully strengthen.
Yeah, hey, thanks for inviting me in, Fred. I heard about the video. I can't wait to go through it with you. Let's jump right in.
All right, here we go.
I've been watching your videos for a long time. Been a big fan of yours. One thing I will say is that I have come out here not only because I turned conservative in about 2016 with Trump's first run. I've always also been a devout atheist, and I
Devout atheist. Can you be a devout atheist?
I mean, that is an oxymoron.
Well, I suppose you could be, Fred, but it would be something that someone else would point out if you're devout. It's just not good form to call yourself devout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue rolling the tape.
I've been proud in my beliefs with that. I find the book, the Bible, to be a very fictitious book. I find that it has a lot of contradictions that are not squared away by anybody that finds it, that reads it. So I'm just want to know one thing I want to get for you before we dive into that is how can we get more people of different faiths to come to the conservative movement instead of, because a lot of what I see of you is espousing on, Christian virtues and to a lesser extent Jewish, but I think that there could be a lot more that we could do with ideas rather than the beliefs of religion.
Let's start with the idea of atheism, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'm going to go through all of the arguments for God's existence.
Okay.
I want you to tell.
Stop the tape, Fred. Kudos to Charlie Kirk. I love the fact that he didn't take the kids' bait to talk about how do we bring more atheists into the conservative movement. It seems like Charlie Kirk knows instinctively that an atheist can't be a conservative. To conserve means to conserve that which came before, and atheism is an absence of belief, and it's just emptiness. How do you conserve emptiness? You can't. So I love the fact that Charlie Kirk just completely ignores that and jumps right into, hey, let's talk about evidence for God.
Exactly. And, the atheist mentioned, let's bring together all faiths. So in a way, he's admitting that they have a faith. He has a faith. It's a blind faith. But anyways, I agree. I love how Charlie jumps right into the evidence.
Yes. And real quick, just not to criticize the kid too much, because he's obviously pretty nervous.
Exactly, yeah.
But he says the Bible is very fictitious.
Very fictitious.
Instead of fictitious,
Lots
it's
of
very,
contradictions.
very fictitious.
And so when he says very fictitious and lots of what does he say? Lots of contradictions.
Yep.
He could just say the Bible is fictitious and contradictory, but he uses extra words to cover up for his insecurity and his uncertainty over the fact of whether or not the Bible is true or not.
Yeah.
You can tell by the extra words he adds in.
Yeah, and one of these days, Doug, we'll have to do a top 10 shows on alleged Bible contradictions. I've heard them all through the years. I'm sure you have too, all kinds of different ones. And there are no real contradictions, but that's for another show. So let's go ahead.
We'll put that on the master list, Fred.
Let's do it. Okay, let's roll the tape.
Tell me if you've heard them before or if they are compelling.
Okay.
First is what's called the ontological argument for God, which ontos comes from the Greek. It's the Greek word for being.
Sure.
So the highest conception of human beings, we can only conceptualize that which is real. And so the highest conception of our own, combined wisdom is God. I think this is the weakest argument for God, to be perfectly honest.
Right, I'll agree with you there, yeah.
Yeah, but
So, Doug, what do you think of the ontological argument? I don't personally use it. I don't think it's a powerful argument, but it is. I like how Charlie's kind of going through the steps. It sounds like he has a strategy on how to answer atheists.
Yeah, definitely. And the ontological portion of the program. I don't understand what he just said, that we can only conceptualize that which is real. I don't. The Bible says the imagination of a man's heart is evil from his youth, and it seems like we can imagine all kinds of unreal things. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a psychologist, so but yeah, it seems pretty weak.
Yeah, more philosophy than anything. Okay, roll the tape.
It is a proof that on an ontological view of God. The second of which is called the cosmological view of God, coming from the Greek word cosmos, which means all-encompassing creation. Sure. If you look around with creation, there are 15 fine-tuned measurements that if anyone went off by a micron, our entire existence would not exist. The tilt of the earth, our proximity to the sun, our configuration of oxygen to carbon dioxide. In fact, we can look at the probability of our existence. It's 1 in multiple trillions that all of this would come together at an exact time, let alone consciousness, let alone human beings, let alone our DNA.
Sure, I want to counter that with the fact that there are millions upon millions of galaxies with millions upon millions of their own stars, with millions and millions of their own planets. If we didn't, I don't think that if this Earth was not in this exact space as it exists now, I think that is also not compelling, because we would have found existence on in another location in the universe if it was not just in this.
I
don't have enough faith to believe that, but let me continue on.
Okay, so Doug, I do love his teleological arguments. Charlie actually, just by mistake, it's always easy to armchair quarterback, but that wasn't the cosmological argument; it was a teleological argument. Where he got right to design, which is great, because that's, my favorite area to go when debating an atheist or an unbeliever is, the evidence for God. I mean, it's right out of the Bible, Romans 1. The invisible attributes are clearly seen by the things that are made. So God, or the Apostle Paul himself, appeals to design, the creation.
That's right.
So.
And he says that the creation leaves all men without excuse.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and so real quick, Fred, because I know that because we're a science show, we assume people know things, and I understand that I know very little. Ontological. Ontology is the study of the nature of being, especially in regard to human beings. And then Charlie just mentioned cosmology. That's the study of that which exists, especially regarding origins and the heavenly bodies. And now we're going to get to teleology, an explanation deduced by the examination of purpose, right? We're going to talk about the teleological view. And, well, let's roll the tape.
Yep, and just real quick, and it sounded like the atheist was appealing to the anthropic principle. He didn't do a great job of it, but that's where he was trying to go with that. So
Charlie pointed out that the odds of all the fine-tuning are in the 1 in the trillions. I think it's probably more in the 1 in the hundreds of trillions, maybe thousands.
Many of them are, absolutely.
And so but the kid says, like so many college professors say, well, the fact that it all came together means that it did.
Yeah, exactly.
And there you go. And it would have somewhere, obviously, because it did.
What a joke.
Yeah. And if I had to add anything to Charlie Kirk's arguments, would be, the quantized redshifts imply that we are the center of the universe, the axis of evil, the differences in temperatures on one side of the earth compared to the other, and it just spans the whole universe, and they call it the axis of evil. They have not solved that problem. So there's a lot of things you can appeal to here, but Charlie's doing a great job up to this point. So let's.
Yeah, he's only got a little bit of time with this kid.
That's right. It's pretty much 8 minutes with this guy. So okay, here we go.
Onwards. Then there is what's called the teleological argument for God. That comes from the Greek word telos, which means we get the word telescope. It means goal, destination, or purpose. This here goes to an argument that for every cause, for every effect, there must be a cause.
And that's the cosmological principle. So he just got them backwards. But we're definitely giving him a pass there, because remember, Doug, I said prokaryote in place of eukaryote, and I got those reversed.
That's right.
It was a slip of the tongue. And this,
he has
it's
both
okay.
concepts correct in his mind. He just got the nomenclature backwards.
That's right.
So, for example, we can agree that space, time, and matter exists. We
Sure.
agree.
Yes.
Therefore, definitionally, something that is outside of space, time, and matter must have made space, time, and matter exist.
Not necessarily. We can. There
Well,
could
then
be
it's against
something.
the laws of reason.
Not because
So this is an area of the debate, Doug, that where we would take issue with one of the things that Charlie Kirk said. We don't think that God created time. And in fact, you'll hear Charlie reference Einstein a little bit later. We've got shows coming up that are going to talk about special relativity and whatnot, but this whole idea that God is outside of time, I think there's a pretty good case that originated with Greek pagan philosophy. You can go to rsr.org/time. And I realize, with our Christian brothers, not everybody agrees with us on this, but nowhere in the Bible does it say God created time itself. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It didn't say he created time. Time is just the passing of one moment to the next. So anyways, I think there's 20th century reliance on Einstein his concept slipping into the Bible. I think this is an example of it. So,
And we'll address it further. Roll tape.
Yep.
because there could always be a universe that existed before our Big Bang. We could have existed with space, but no matter in a very tiny point. That's what basically the Big Bang was. So I don't see how that disproves atheism. And atheism is more of a, I don't believe God exists. Why is this compelling?
Well, I'm going to go through two more proofs of God, and then we'll finish. Then there's what's called the Kalam proof of time, which is thanks to Albert Einstein, we know that time is actually a real thing that can be traversed with enough speed. And in order for time to exist, something timeless must have created it. Finally, there's something called the axiological view of God. I don't know if
So any more comments on that, Dog, before we get in the axiological view?
Yes. Well, you mentioned earlier that this idea of time being a physical thing creeped in from Greek mythology and then atheistic physics. And now for Charlie to refer to the Kalam, by the way, is medieval Islamic scholasticism. And it's not unreasonable. It says that everything that began to exist must have a cause.
Yeah.
It's not unreasonable. But we don't have to refer to medieval Islamic scholasticism to establish that. The Bible establishes that, and I just don't appreciate that Charlie referred to Islamic scholasticism. But I think that goes back to Charlie's working off a formula that he got from someone who went to college, and he should probably just stick more with the Bible.
Yeah. And, to be fair, most Christians probably believe in the whole Einstein God outside of time, that time's physical, you can, time. I just saw the other day, we saw Interstellar. Don't recommend it. It was boring. It was stupid. Matthew McConaughey was the main actor, but somehow they're going out way into space, and because he travels faster than the speed of light, clocks slow down for him, or time does. So when he finally makes it back to Earth, his daughter is old and on her deathbed.
It's been 84 years.
It's so stupid, but that's we'll have future shows to get more into that.
Well, it sounds like it makes for good fiction, but maybe not in the case of that particular movie.
Yeah, and if you watch that movie and you believe Einstein and special relativity, then you have to believe that that's actually real. That Matthew McConaughey didn't age compared to his daughter, who's like on her deathbed. He's like still like 40 years old. It's just silly.
Yeah, and most people believe that is possible.
Yeah, and I've got some, heavenly bets with people. We'll see when we get to heaven who's right on the whole time is relative. So.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be settling up a lot of bets.
Yeah, I get extra time in some people's mansions if I win that one. Now, I realize I could lose, but hey, I'm pretty confident in that one, but we'll see. Okay, let's roll the tape.
if you know this one, axios comes from the word, the Greek word judgment. Axios and judgment mean the same thing, which basically means that every human being has some form of right and wrong embedded in us. For example, when the Nuremberg trials were happening, the Nazis were not able to say, well, it was just the laws of the land. They actually appealed to a higher power, saying that every one of us had some good or evil within us.
Okay, so that doesn't. I mean, that kind of disproves, right? I mean, if the Nazis were able to point to something outside of themselves and say, hey, this is the reason why we're doing this.
They didn't. No, the point is the Nazis did it. Is that the people doing the trial did, meaning the Nazis were not able to excuse that.
Okay.
So out of all those proofs of God, what if any of them are persuasive to you?
None.
None.
Seriously?
Okay.
All right. So real quick, Fred, just one more definition. Axiology. Charlie mentioned the axiological view. Axiology is the study of value, especially ethical, moral, and aesthetic value. And it basically asserts that our conscience proves God, which, again, it's another biblical principle that Charlie refers to, which is great.
Yep. And I wanted to really quickly, if we can, I want to play a clip from The Matrix. Get out of the Matrix.
Boy.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Because Bob uses the axiological argument, and it's super interesting. And you'll see some real just startling admissions by these atheists. I'm going to go ahead and play just a clip of this.
See, if you're going to build your life on a set of ideas, make them stable enough so they cannot be destroyed within 8 seconds. If someone tells you that you can only know that which you can learn with your 5 senses, ask them, which of your 5 senses have told you that? Is it your sense of taste? Did that tell you that you could only know what your 5 senses can tell you? For me, that doesn't pass the stink test. I could smell a fish in that lie, that you could only know what your 5 senses tell you. It turns out that you can know a lot beyond your 5 senses. For the young women in the room that hope one day to be married, not all women want to be married, but some do. Some few do. And if a woman, before she commits herself to a man for life, she wants to know if he loves her. And what if you've been taught that you can only know based on your 5 senses? How are you going to figure out if this guy loves you? Maybe that's not an important decision anymore. But are you going to feel it with your fingertips? Are you going to taste it and find out if he loves you? See, when you believe a lie, when you're caught in the matrix, when you've been taught not to think for yourself, but to believe absurdities, it's not just your view on God that will be destroyed. It's your life and your family.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
Whoa.
And I recommend that video. It's called Get Out of the Matrix by Bob Enyart. And the video starts with this. He asks this table in the cafeteria, is it absolutely wrong to rape a woman? And this girl says, no, it's not absolutely wrong, because she's convinced that there's no absolute. So they have to answer that way. And it's just amazing, what the public education has done. And Charlie will get into this whole thing later, but it just reminded me of that debate, this whole axiological argument as well. So
yeah, and this is early 2000s, 20 years ago, maybe a little more now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that the kids in the school were obviously already being brainwashed toward a relativistic worldview, and that there are no absolutes. But 25 years ago, the school allowed someone with a differing viewpoint to actually go into the school and talk to the kids. That's probably not been true for at least 10 years, I would assume. So it would be so interesting to follow up with the kids who were in that classroom and heard that lecture from Bob Enyart, and how many of them were at least saved from a life of misery and confusion, if not saved from hell itself.
Yeah. And what a great point of how it destroys yourself and your family. This isn't just about, anger at God. Okay, let's roll the tape. Back to the debate.
None. Okay. So then if you look at a human being and you look at the improbability of our, how we are put together, Do you believe that we are largely an accident of multi-billions of years of evolution?
Yes. How do we know? How do we not know that there's? How do we know that there isn't something that's identical to us on another, planet somewhere that we haven't encountered yet? It's just a skeptic in me that's thinking that way. That says, hey, maybe there's something out there that we haven't contacted yet that is in another galaxy or another planet or something that we just don't know about.
Or maybe there isn't.
Okay.
So the improbability, though, of our existence and the Earth and oxygen and carbon and nitrogen and all of it together, you don't marvel at a human being being able to heal itself when it's cut or grow to a...
No, because we're not the only beings on Earth that can do that. There's a lot of people...
Well, we are the only ones that can reason, though.
So, did you catch what happened there, Doug?
Hey, help me through it, Fred. There's so much there.
Yeah. Well, so the atheist challenges, Kirk's position on, just the design of people, and then he appeals to design in nature. It happens in nature. Okay, well then that's design. I don't get how that's,
That's yet another layer for Charlie's argument, right? And he doesn't see that.
Yep.
You know what it is, Fred? He's mostly looking for something from another planet or another dimension that we haven't yet discovered that's going to let him off the hook. That's mostly what he's looking for. So that's missing the forest for the trees and literally not realizing that the trees can heal themselves. And that's pretty impressive. And that's more of an argument for Charlie's position.
Yep, exactly. So, okay. Let's go ahead and keep the tape rolling.
Okay.
Do you marvel at our capacity to reason it? Even the ability for mammals or reptiles to reproduce life. You don't see any intelligent design behind it.
None.
You just see it as
it's a consequence of natural selection and evolution over millions and probably millions of years.
Okay, so I had to stop it there.
What the heck was that?
I mean, this is tough. So, this is the Bible talking.
Warning, 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 Will Robinson. There are Bible verses up ahead. For those in the audience who advocate pluralism and diversity, we know here at Real Science Radio that you would like to censor anyone who ever quote a Bible verse in public. So this warning gives you fair notice. Raw, unadulterated truth is about to be uttered.
Run. Okay, so he says there's no evidence.
None.
So Psalm 14, it pulls no punches, which it says, the fool tells himself there is no God, but reality says otherwise. And it repeats this in Psalm 53, verse 1. So I do like the axiological argument here, or the morality argument. Remember that our friend at the Homeschool conference last year, Doug, he used the axiological argument is one of the go-to arguments he uses. Where do we get our moral standard from? It's really good stuff.
Right.
And speaking of Homeschool conference, we're going to be at the Colorado Homeschool Conference in Denver on June 12th through 14th. So if you're in the area, we're going to have a booth set up. So please stop by and say hi. We're looking forward to that. We've actually got a few guests that are going to come on our show in the next couple weeks, probably, that are going to also be at the conference. So that should be really good.
That'll be a hoot.
Yep.
June 12th through the 14th.
That's right. And Doug, you're going to be there too with one of your daughters. That's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so this might be a good time to break into the interesting fact of the week.
Oh boy, I've been on the edge of my seat.
And I've got two here, and I'm going to let you choose the theme that you want.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about, do you want me to ask you about animals that can also regenerate limbs, or do you want me to ask one related to the five senses?
So either one limits the possibilities, but the five senses seems to limit it the most, giving me the best chance of being correct. So I'm going to go for the five senses.
All righty, here we go. So the interesting fact of the week. Beyond the traditional five senses, scientists recognize several more. One of them is called nociception. What sense does nociception refer to? Yeah, and it's
Okay,
spelled Nociception. So nociception.
Oh, N-O-C-I, not G-N-O. Oh,
Yeah, nociception.
nociception is the sense that you're being watched.
It's the sense of pain. Pain. Yeah.
Oh, that gets back to another axiom Bob Enyart left us with, that pain is not physical.
Yeah, and Doug, I just checked, and you can go to rsr.org/pain, and Bob has a whole page there on pain is not physical. That was a show we did back in October of 2006. Wow. So almost 2 decades ago, if you want to look into that. That was I remember that from years ago. I don't remember the details, of course, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. So, all right, Doug.
I remember him going into what hurts more, breaking your leg or losing your child in a car accident, which hurts more.
Yeah.
And that really drives the point home that pain's not physical. And
Yep.
rsr.org/pain. Check it out.
All right. So let's continue the tape.
So we both have faith.
Okay.
I would argue you have a lot more faith than I do. You have a lot more blind faith to believe that everything around you, love, joy, peace, sadness, is all just a construct of neurons firing in your brain.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So do you believe that we are just limited to our 5 senses?
No, I think even science has said that there could be like a sixth sense of...
What is that sixth sense?
Like a sixth sense that can be aware of what's surrounding the body. That, like, I can know that there's another person next to me, or there's a microphone in front of me. I can sense that. I don't need to have my eyes... I could be blind and I could still know that was there. I mean, I didn't need... I use more than 5 senses. Science has told us that for decades, that we have more.
What do you think happens when you die?
Nothing. Our electronic impulses just stop firing and
Let me ask you the most important question.
Okay.
Do you hope you're wrong?
Not really. No, I mean, I've got
So,
this.
you don't desire an afterlife?
I consider this life as an atheist the more compelling than even when I was younger and when I was religious, because I think that this is the only life we have. We need to do with it what we can, the best that we can do it, and it's, like I said, it's just the one chance we got. We don't have an afterlife. We don't have anything after that. So our goal is to become the best people that we can possibly be in that one chance that we get.
Okay, I will be stunned. So you hope that there's no eternal judgment and you never see your loved ones after you die?
No, not really.
I hope you all internalize just how dark that is, how sad that is. And it's fine, I'm not trying to criticize you. We as Christians have hope that we are going to see our loved ones again, and that we will be in heaven, and that we will be in perfect peace, and that this is not it. In fact, there's something even better awaiting us. So I hope one day that you do seek to find something higher and better, that this is not all for us in our existence. Thank you so much.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I got several things, Fred.
All right.
First of all, Charlie, you should not present faith as if it's allowed to be unreasonable. Atheism, you have to allow them to be unreasonable. But that's not faith. That's irrationality. Faith is not allowed to be unreasonable. And to present his faith as if he has more faith than you have faith, I just think that's a bad argument. He doesn't have any faith.
Yeah.
We have faith that's reasonable.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah. And, if he has faith, like Charlie did say, it's blind, but, that's not the Bible definition of faith, Doug, as we all know. It's from Hebrews 11, verse 1.
Yeah.
Faith is the evidence of things not seen.
Mm-hmm.
The faith, our faith isn't it's not a blind faith. It's Webster's likes to define it as belief in something for which there is no evidence. I mean, that's right out of Webster's. But that's not what faith is. So
no.
The evidence of things not seen. And I thought Charlie missed another opportunity here. And again, it's easy to armchair quarterback. You and I have been in these, some of the man on the street interviews. You always look back, it's like, man, I wish I'd have thought of this.
Yeah.
And plus, you have limited time. I mean, when we're doing those man on the street interviews or Charlie, he only has so much time that he can give all these people that are in line to talk to him. But when the atheist said that what we need to do in this life is do the best we can do. And I think that would have been a good chance for Charlie to use the axiological argument and ask the atheist, by what standard do you know that you are doing the best you can do?
Yeah.
Is there no objective morality? Better is just an opinion.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, little missed opportunity. But again, that's why we're here, because we want to help Charlie do better next time. And watching Charlie will help me do better next time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the kid, basically, he's a Sadducee. If you ever read the Bible, you hear about the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Yeah.
The
He's sad,
Sadducees
you
didn't
see.
believe in the resurrection.
Yep.
Yeah, they're sad, you see.
Yep.
Yes. Because there's no resurrection. This life is all there is. But the Sadducees did have a moral standard that they were trying to keep. It was the law. So unlike this kid, he has nothing. And then he mentions that back when he was younger, when he was religious.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes back to the idea that from Romans, that we all know that there's a God. We're all born knowing there's a God. I think we're all born having a connection and a relationship with God that eventually is ruined by something. And I might have drilled down on what might have happened. You said you were religious when you were younger. What might have happened to you? Because if you can find out the sense of someone's pain and confusion, sometimes you can reach their heart and maybe you don't close the deal and they accept the Lord then, but you open them up. And this is the one thing that bothered me a little bit about about the whole debate, is it reminds me a lot of myself. For much of my life, I was focused so much on winning the debate and winning the argument that I forgot to go for the soul. And that's really the most important thing, is to try to get them saved, open them up to the gospel, tell them something about God that can actually reach them. And I'm just not sure that Charlie has that instinct yet, but when I was his age, neither did I. And he's young, he's got a couple of kids, he's got a lot to learn, and he seems like a sincere believer. So great job, Charlie, and we'll keep you in prayer, and let's lift each other up.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Doug, that if you could have drilled more into, why he, turned against God, because that's what it is. It's rebellion against God. He got angry at God for some reason. And so then instead of, working through that, they just try to deny that he exists. Mm-hmm. They head down that path. So good point. And we know that the public schools don't help. They just, help push that, foster that belief within him, and encourage that rejection of God by going to the public schools. And that's why it's so important that we talk to our listeners that if you've got kids in the public schools, we strongly encourage you to take them out and get them into a solid Christian school, and better yet, homeschool them. Mm. And if you get a chance to go check out a homeschool conference, there's a lot of great material. There's a lot of great support. There's so many positive advantages to doing that. And, what's more important than, your kids and their futures.
Yeah, and there's
we have so much responsibility there. And
yes, and that gets back to the point with this kid, Fred. Someone hurt him early on, and he has some righteous indignation against someone who hurt him, I'm sure. And that goes back to the fact that we all bear the image of God. And if we hurt and disrespect each other, that can cause that injured party to hate God. You remember God used to get mad at Israel, and he would say, "My name is blasphemed among the heathens because of you people and the way you behave."
Yeah.
It's the same with us. And parents, I will bet you this kid was injured by an adult, an authority figure in his life early on, and it's just unfortunate. And hopefully someone will get to the bottom of it with him and reach him, and appreciate Charlie's efforts in working down that road.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. And again, we encourage you, if you can, like the video, leave comments. We're trying to respond more often to the comments on the video. It does help get the video seen by more people. If you support what we do, please do that. Take those steps. Encourage others to, join in, watch the show. We got lots planned for coming up. Looking forward to it. Again, the Homeschool Conference, June 12th to 14th in Denver, Colorado Homeschool Conference. And Doug, with God, we not only have design and purpose, but we have a Savior. And that's the ultimate message that we have for our audience.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you, Doug. Thanks for joining me again on Real Science Radio. It's always great to go through so many fun facts of science and just defending Genesis and the truth of the Bible. So,
amen. Great to do it with you, Fred. Thanks.
All right. So for Doug McBurney, I'm Fred Williams of Real Science Radio. May God bless you.